everyone, we're the Steam Sisters. I'm Sandhya.
And I'm Swapna.
And this is the STEAM League, where we get to learn about the day-to-day careers, aspirations, and origin stories of incredible superheroes in science, technology, engineering, art, and math.
Today we have the huge honor of being joined by Nick Robinson.
And Nick is a personal trainer and a professional breakdancer and the new lead of strength and conditioning with Breaking Canada. Nick also has a master's degree in exercise science.
Well, we're flipping over with excitement. So welcome to the STEAM League, Nick. It's so awesome to see you again.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to your own show. Thanks for having me. So good to connect.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've come up with a quick game to break the ice, and we think it's a great way to start.
And no need to bend over backwards to answer these questions because it's just a quick fire round, and we'll pick the questions out of this here hat.
Oh, I like it.
You ready, Nick?
Ready.
Okay, what's your favorite way to refuel after a good training session?
Oh, I love a good chicken breast and some spinach. That's my go-to.
Healthy and balanced. I would love that. Who's your biggest inspiration?
Oh, wow. Probably my grandfather, actually. My grandfather's probably one of my biggest inspirations, yeah.
Why is that?
He's just an incredible human, yeah. And he's had an amazing career, but also just a great guy, and yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, sounds like a great role model.
That's awesome. What was your favorite subject in elementary or high school?
I loved science and I loved gym.
Oh, love that combination.
If gym is a subject, if you want to call that a subject.
Totally.
I think it's a subject.
Gym is totally a subject.
And we concur entirely. Gym and science, definitely.
Beautiful.
What would your STEAM superpower be, or your superpower?
Honestly, to fly.
Ooh.
If that falls in the category. I would love to be able to fly. Yeah.
Well, we see some clouds and sky behind you, so as soon as you're able, looks like it's ready.
I'll spread the wings.
And you are from the Yukon, so what's your favorite spot in the Yukon?
Oh man, there's a lake called Kusawa Lake, and it's towards Haines Junction, outside of the Yukon, outside of Whitehorse, and it's very beautiful. I spent a lot of time camping there as a kid, so yeah, probably my favorite spot.
We're adding it to the list. We've been to Whitehorse, but we need to explore
Miles
more of the
Canyon
Yukon.
Is currently our favorite, but we haven't been there yet, so next time.
Next time, go to Kusawa.
And this next one is the last quick fire, but it's also one that has to do with breakdancing. Footwork cat or powerhead?
Definitely started out more powerhead and then became more of a footwork cat.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to define those two things for us and our audience?
Yeah, so in breaking, you have different aspects you can break the dance down into. So you have top rock, which is all your up top stuff. Then you have footwork and whatnot, which is on the ground doing footwork, kind of similar to top rock steps even sometimes, but on the ground. And then you have power moves, which would be like your head spins, your flares, your windmills, which people think of when they think about breaking. So I started out, for sure, any young kid sees power and you're like, oh, I want to learn that, right? But then you're like, oh, but footwork is cool too. So yeah.
That is awesome.
Okay, so now we're going to explore in some more depth the career and the who, what, where, when, why, and how of Nick and his career with some career questions.
Absolutely. So, Nick, you're a personal trainer and a professional b-boy, aka breakdancer. A really awesome combo. So let's break it down. What does it take to become a personal trainer and a breakdancer? Take us through the steps.
So I started dancing. I played soccer growing up, actually. And I started dancing when I was in grade 8, and at some point I had to make the switch over. So when I was 16, I switched over to purely breaking. I trained for years doing that. We had a crew from Toronto that kind of brought us up and would come and train us in the Yukon. And when it was time to apply for university, it kind of kinesiology was fitting. And the guys from here, actually, they said, why don't you apply to school, come down, you can go to U of T and you can train with us. So yeah, and then through kinesiology, of course, that's where I got into training.
That's amazing.
So, those are the steps.
That is awesome. Yeah. And what did you study through kinesiology? What were some of the courses that stood out to you?
What did I enjoy the most? I really enjoyed physiology. I love anatomy and sport medicine. I like that a lot. And then there's some more training related courses. I don't know, Timur Taha taught a really cool one. So yeah, all those sorts of courses I really enjoyed a lot.
And what are the steps to become a personal trainer?
It's a good question. There's probably thousands of ways to get there. It's not a super controlled industry in the sense that there's not like a governing board across the country that says you have to do this or that. So essentially, yeah, I mean, if you have a kinesiology degree, then you have a very amazing foundation, and it's just the steps of getting, like, say, insured and all that you have to do. Otherwise, you could take certification. There's all sorts of certifications you could take. So some stand out more than others, but yeah, there's tons of different ways to do that. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love how you took an interest from when you were a kid and brought that all the way to what your career is now.
Yeah, it was funny too. I never thought of kinesiology. I was going to probably go into engineering, which is what my grandfather did. And then I took like a human bio course in grade 12 and like loved it. And it just stuck with me. I didn't even study and I was getting 90s. Like it just like made sense. So then I was like, okay, this makes sense. And that's part of the reason I applied to Kenya.
You're a natural. That's so cool.
What certifications do you personally have for personal training?
So I'm insured just through the simple method of just going through the CanFit, like insure. And then some NCCP coaching stuff that we did in Kin. Yeah, and then of course, like your basics, like all your first aid and everything. I've done some work in other realms like that, but then from there, yeah, a whole variety of there's hundreds of certifications, and you kind of like, take a weekend and do this, take a weekend and do that. But for sure, the basis is like the kinesiology degree, and then the master's in exercise science kind of really sets you up if you want to get into it. Yeah.
It sounds like with that foundation, you have a lot of flexibility in that field.
Totally. Yeah. A lot of flexibility. I think a lot of responsibility in that case too, right? I think that it's important not to overstep your boundaries and know like what your scope is. I think a lot of trainers, sometimes try to do the job of a physio or like things like that. So I think it's important to kind of recognize that there's flexibility, but know your scope,
That's a really
great point. Good advice. Okay, so you also recently had the golden opportunity to become the lead of strength and conditioning with Breaking Canada. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell us what that means for you in your career, and perhaps what do you think is going to be the most exciting aspect to look forward to, maybe the most challenging, especially as breakdancing becomes an Olympic sport in the next Olympic Games?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really cool time to be involved just because it's getting going and it's new and all that. I've been working with dancers kind of naturally since I started training like 10 years ago or so, just because a lot of my friends were dancers and contacts and stuff. So I've been working in the field for a long time doing it. And so now it's a chance to actually kind of like do it on a more larger scale and also more almost like official scale. So yeah, the Olympics are 3 years out, and it's just going to be a process of building a system and supporting the dancers as best as I can, and kind of building towards that Paris Games, in 3 years. So pretty excited. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That sounds so exciting. That's amazing.
We can't wait to see it and see you there.
Yeah. What would you say are the top 3 skills that a personal trainer needs? And how does that translate to breakdancing?
Oh, that's very interesting. Top 3 skills. For sure, your interpersonal skills. That's probably, you're spending a lot of time with people, so that's important, definitely. Obviously, your education. I'm a big believer that you should go out and like actually get the proper education to work with people. Like, I'm not a huge fan of your quick little certifications, but I know some trainers who have a quick certification and they're excellent. So I'm not, so definitely like your education, your interpersonal skills. And then if you're going to work on your own, so I've been running my own company for the last 10 years or so. And so it's just the skills to keep a business going. If you work for a big gym or something like that, of course you have that infrastructure. But if you're out on your own, then you got to just make it happen and figure out all that. And how do I pay my HST, like all that. So
that's a good mix of skills to know, and not necessarily something you think of off the top of your head when you're thinking about it, because it really is your own business.
Yeah, that's really awesome and very impressive as well. And how would you say that applies to breakdancing?
Well, interpersonal skills. So being able to interact on like the level of a dancer, like coming from that world myself. You know the culture, you already know a lot of the people. So that definitely, the interpersonal skills is a big part of that. The education side, of course, like, physiology, anatomy, sport medicine, all that stuff that, you do when you're in school and you can start applying in a training setting. So kind of it all applies. And breaking is different, right? It's different from most other dance forms or sports. So it's taking that lens and backing up and looking at it like, how do I approach this in a specific manner instead of here's like a blanket approach, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds very translatable, and it sounds like breaking is really an art and a sport at the same time. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Most people would consider it an art, but then of course it has these really like large athletic components. So I think that's why it caters so well to something like the Olympics.
Yeah.
Does having that personal trainer background give you kind of a different perspective on breakdancing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense for sure, actually. So when I was in school, both during undergrad and my master's, you know, you're thinking like, you're thinking about your research or you're thinking about whatever. And so I would go to session and like, I'm watching like maybe a friend get down and like, all I'm thinking about is like, I don't know, lactic acid or like sarcomeres or like, you know? So I think that like, you are always doing that the whole time. And so, yeah.
That's really interesting. You have a different lens looking at breakdancing when you've got that background.
Did you feel like that background helped you do better in breaking or better in personal training?
For sure, the dance background helped me do better in training, 100%. Just from aspect of being like so physical myself and like diving into it and like that realm. Also, I found that like, you know, in the kinesiology program, if you do training and conditioning, it's often in a gym setting, but the conditioning typically for breaking would be like more as like from the gymnastics almost standpoint. So having that to draw in, you know, kind of gave me both sides of it. Yeah. And then vice versa, did training help breaking? For sure, because I was able to apply it to my own stuff, able to work on avoiding injuries, able to work on increasing stamina if I needed to, and also take that and like experiment on my own crew with it.
Ooh, that's exciting. And you mentioned your research, and you did a master's degree where you conducted research on muscle biochemistry. Tell us more about what you researched and how that affects your professional career.
So my research, like you said, was, we used muscle biochemistry. It was a muscle physiology lab with Dr. Marius Locke. And we would essentially, we would use biochemical techniques to analyze muscle and look for the expression of various proteins in the muscle, depending on the type of exercise that was done. So we would apply stress. I specifically looked at eccentric or like lengthening contractions. So like if this is your bicep and you apply force, now my bicep is lengthening under tension as opposed to shortening. So we would do a lot of research in that realm with the eccentric contractions and look at muscle damage that occurred from those eccentric contractions and analyze the proteins using biochem to see what was happening in the muscle at a given point. And then I did further research on creatine supplementation to see if that creatine supplementation affected that muscle damage from those contractions.
That's super fascinating. And what did you find?
We found some mixed results with that. Maybe creatine does help. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't, but we did find some really cool stuff just as far as protein expression and lengthening contractions and muscle stress. And,
Sounds like a really awesome area of research.
Yeah, I suppose from that, would I suggest someone takes creatine? You could. Yeah.
Still inconclusive.
Yeah.
More research to be done. Maybe that is in your future at some point.
Perhaps a PhD is in the line. Who knows? Maybe not. We'll see.
We've learned an abundance about your career, and it's an incredible career. Indeed, an abundance. And now we're on the edge of our seats because we want to know more about your career, and it's show and tell time, and we can't wait to see what you're going to show us.
Wow. You killed that. Okay, so show and tell time. I have for you this is a trophy from a battle that we won.
Wow.
So I don't know if you can see, it's a full paddle.
It is.
And they had it engraved. I don't know, is this the right way for you to read that?
Yeah. Oh, 2017 Battle Champions. Nice.
And the back says House of Paint. It's a jam that's in Ottawa every year, a big annual event that's there.
Oh,
so dancers from all around Canada, sometimes from the States, come up and compete. Yeah. And it's got a cool engraving here. And they even did the handle.
Oh, that's so cool. Amazing.
That is absolutely beautiful. Probably the biggest trophy I've ever seen. And
yes, it's quite large. Yeah,
Coolest.
great for activities.
Have you ever
So
used it to paddle?
I have not oared with it, but I think I would. It seems like it's been sealed, but maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe that one's just for,
Keep it in pristine condition. But tell us
It's
more
for
about
show and tell.
it's for show
it's
and
for show and tell. It's perfect.
Totally.
It was made for this segment. Thank you so much for
Exactly.
sharing that. That is super awesome and congratulations.
Yeah, but tell us more
Thank
about the experience.
For this
Yeah.
present. Yeah, so there's an annual event. It's called House of Paint. It's in Ottawa every year. It's really cool. It's underneath this massive bridge, and then it's called House of Paint because there's a big graffiti aspect to it. So guys are painting and doing murals and pieces the whole time. And then tied in, you have a big dance competition. So it's a crew event normally, which means, because you can have crew events where you can have a whole crew and it's usually a timed battle. You can have like, say, a 4-on-4, a 3-on-3, 2-on-2, 1-on-1. So House of Paint is usually a big event, big crew event. And dancers come from all around the country, sometimes the States, and compete. And yeah, it's a great time. It's a really cool event. My friend Sammy actually has been the coordinator for it for a couple of years.
Nice.
So he does a great job. And yeah, it's super, super fun. You go for the weekend, you enjoy Ottawa, you compete. Yeah. And oftentimes they have live music too. So usually the final battle is a live band, which is sick.
That is incredible. So live
It's pretty
music,
cool.
got the graffiti aspect, and you've got the breaking. That sounds like a whole event that we gotta go to at some point.
Sounds like STEAM right there.
yeah,
You would probably love it.
we
You
would
probably love it.
love it.
Yes.
Question though, follow-up question
Yes.
is, hey, do you remember, I know it's back in 2017, do you remember some of the moves that had you guys, front runners, maybe winners? What made you
Oh,
win?
wow. Yeah, I mean, specific moves, sure, but I think also it's like that crew cohesion. Like you just have that energy. You kind of have to have in a battle. You kind of have to have that all. Like you have to have the energy. You have to be on point. Like everybody has to hit what they're doing. You can't have anyone crashing or sloppy or whatever. So yeah, everything has to click that night. You have some commandos, which are kind of like a short routine to bring someone in. You basically steal a round from the other crew. So like I would do a round, and then normally the other crew would be able to do a round. But when I'm finishing my round, I'll have a move that like my crew knows that's the beginning of a commando. And then whoever I have that routine with will jump in and do that commando with me, and then switch out and steal a round, and they'll do a round.
Oh, a strategy.
So strategy. So that's one like little strategy there. I think we had a commando in that jam. But yeah, definitely like just cohesion, energy, be on point, be clean, don't crash. Yeah.
Good. Again, good advice. So when you throw down, Nick, what are some of your go-to or favorite things to do?
Oh, wow. I train in session a lot. There's different ways of approaching it, but for myself, like in session or in training, I'll like train certain moves and clean everything up. But then in a jam, I kind of just shut it off and like listen to the music. Yeah. So yeah, listen to the music and like whatever comes out. Maybe you have an idea of a move. So like a blow up, like you're going to do this flip, or you're going to do like whatever. Maybe you're going to do this combo. It's like flare, halo, whatever, hold. You're going to do that in there. But other than that, I just shut it off and like
go with the flow.
See what happens. Other dancers will actually almost pre-choreograph sets. So they know this is my set A, B, C, D. So I find that sometimes then you can tell and they're like not in the music, but it's an approach and like it's effective.
It's awesome though. That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit more about your crew?
Yeah. So my crew is called Groundwork Sessions, or GWS, and we are from Whitehorse, Yukon. Actually, everybody in the crew is from the Yukon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we grew up dancing together. I was in grade 8 when I started, and then my brothers, who are 4 years younger, we would come home and like teach them stuff. And there's a lady named Andrea in Whitehorse, Yukon, who owns a dance studio there. And she was our first teacher. She knew a couple steps, all this stuff. And then, yeah, it kind of grew from there. We actually ended up teaching the next year because there was no one to do that. And we were just like, all right, like, I guess we can teach what we know. And her son, Riley, is in our crew as well. And yeah, we just all grew up together, like super tight, lots of traveling together. And we've lived in Vancouver together in a house. We've lived here in Toronto together. We've toured Europe for months at a time together. So those guys are like a tight family for me. Yeah.
What sparked your interest in breakdancing in the first place?
Honestly, I think my friend and I, we were playing competitive soccer. My friend Carl, who I grew up with, and we saw the worm on like, I think we saw it on like, I don't know, Much Music or something. And we were like, yo, like I want to do that, you know? And so we were trying to learn that. I remember trying to learn that in my family's kitchen. I'm just gonna like that. That'll be better for the son. And we were like hitting our faces on the ground, you know? And then my mom was the one that was like, oh, and she looked up like classes, like b-boying classes, b-girling classes. And yeah, she found Andrea, who was teaching these like beginner classes. So that's kind of how it started.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that
And then,
story.
yeah, and then you like have fun with it, and like it's physical, and like it's a good way to like use your energy and all that. And then, yeah.
Love that. And thank you so much for doing that show and tell. Now we're going to flip it a little. We have something to show you. We have, for this next game, our Instagram picture game, we have some of your Instagram pictures, and we can't wait to hear the stories behind it.
So we're going to show you some photos, and we're going to ask you to explain them. So this is the first one here. Nick, can you tell us about this photo?
Lovely photo. Who took that? That I think I was on a moose hunting trip. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that was from a moose hunting trip. So if you go moose hunting in Yukon, you go like later in the season when it opens up, and so it'll be cold. Like you can have some snow. I'm pretty sure that's what that is from. So out in the bush, you know, wandering around, freezing, and we probably didn't even get a moose.
But you had the experience and
an amazing photo to go with it.
Yeah, that
and
is
a great photo.
All right, your next picture is this one.
Oh, that's a great photo. So those are two athletes I work with, Paul Poirier and Piper Gillis. They skate for Canada. They're Olympic ice dancers. And yeah, that's a great photo of them. We've been working together now for 5 years. I've been the strength coach for the last 5 years. So yeah, I see those guys twice a week, but we talk every day. And yeah, it's a lot of fun working with them. So that's a great photo right there. Wow. They podiumed at Worlds, so they came third at Worlds this past year. I believe that's what that photo is from.
Which is pretty amazing. And it's really nice to know that you were a part of their success.
Yeah, a small piece, but yeah.
We are going to show you one more picture.
Oh, very cool. I actually have that right over there.
Oh, nice. Want to tell us about it?
You know what's funny is that's actually a trophy from the same event as the paddle. Yeah, House of Paint. It's just from a different year. I'm trying to remember if it was before or after. I think that was an earlier year. Yeah, so same event. So we've won that event twice. And it's a cool they always have cool trophies. They got the paddle, they have that, you know.
This makes me wonder though, looking at the shoe on that trophy, is there a particular type of shoe that you prefer or that breakers typically prefer when they're breakdancing?
That's a great question. Everyone definitely prefers has their own taste because of two things. First of all, like feel and three things: the health of your foot, I suppose, which we don't often consider as much as we should, because it is a culture of you know, how things look and you know, so aesthetic, I suppose. So anyway, so health of your foot, sure. But then the feel, like how it feels when you're doing your footwork and how it looks. So for instance, I like dancing like a Chuck like that, like a Chuck Taylor. I prefer like a low cut one. And I find that for me, that makes my footwork look tight and crispy. They're you know, they're smaller, they're not bulky. They're also kind of light, but still have a bit of weight to them.
Agile.
Yeah, versus some people dance in the Nike Huarache, for instance. It would be a very different shoe, right? So there's a lot of cushion. It's also snug on your foot, but it's a little bulkier. So yeah, just depends on what I'm dancing. Yeah, sometimes we'll dance in Vans. Yeah.
Switch it up.
Or once in a while, we dance in our socks. We call it sock rocking. Yeah, but sock rocking more is you don't plan on it. You're not yo, I'm gonna go sock rock. You know, it just happens because you couldn't wear your shoes really. So whatever you're wearing could be anything. You know, maybe they're mismatched.
Oh, I do that all the time.
That's what's happening for me right now. So maybe I'm ready to throw it down, sock rock and stuff.
Who knows? So you can also slide the heel off the bottom of the sock, so then you can grip with the heel and spin on the toe.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
You know, there's all sorts of little tricks. Yeah.
Wow.
We're learning from the best here, so I feel like we're going to be ready to try and throw it down.
You're going to be ready. You're going to be ready.
Keeping us on our toes.
Exactly.
Are there any other tools that are important to a breakdancer?
Any other tools? For sure, like whatever, if you're gonna wear a hat, like whatever headgear you're wearing. So for instance, I'll show you this. If you're wearing a hat, first of all, your hat can't fall off because it just makes your round look sloppy. And secondly, we take these, like the Smartie on the top, you take it out, you take them out of your hat. Because if you put your head on the ground with that on, it is one of the more painful, it's so painful. So you actually just pull it, you like pull it out. You see what guys like do it with their teeth. But you take it out. Yeah, the hat, if you're gonna wear a hat, yeah, it can't come off, take that off. You can buy spin hats and whatnot that have like vinyl kind of on top so that like it spins better.
Oh, ready to go.
Other than that, we dance in jeans a lot, like different kinds of jeans and whatnot, but you have to find something to stretch. Yeah, and then jackets, like you find something that spins on the floor well. It's pretty important to like, you'll see guys in the store, like rubbing it on the wall, like, does this spin?
Can you tell us about a time in your career when you didn't succeed and what you did to muscle through?
Wow, I like that. When I didn't succeed and I muscled through. I mean, okay, just a silly example, but there was a time where I worked at a gym in Vancouver after I finished kinesiology before going back to school. Because the Steve Nash Sports Club was like right downtown. And so it's a big kind of like corporate gym. And so there was a rule that you had to sell like a certain amount of training per month. So that's like the business side of it. And so I hadn't hit my month. I think I had projected I'm going to sell whatever. Let's say I was like, I'm going to sell like $8,000 a training. And I think I had sold like 5. And so my boss is like, she's really cool. Her name is Princess. Actually, she's sort of a mentor for me as well. She's really cool. She's like, Nick, like, sorry, but you got to go to this like thing tomorrow morning. I hate mornings. This thing tomorrow morning, it's like a punishment. You got to go for like a workout at like one of our other locations at like 7. I was like, I'm not going to that. Like, there's 0% chance. And she's like, oh no, like that's, you got to go. Like you did. Okay. That's just 3 hours before like closing of the gym. I was like, screw that. I went and talked to someone on the floor. I sold $3,000 of training in like 15 minutes. Yeah. And I walked back in and I was like, hey, P, go check my numbers.
Amazing. All right. You know what motivates
there's a good
you?
Example. Yeah.
Avoiding mornings.
Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? Yes. I was like, I'm going to be in my bed at 7. I'm not going to this workout. Like, no.
I am on the same page as you. I would find that very motivating.
And nicely done. Nicely done.
She was just like, okay, well done. And I was like, thank you. I'm going to go home now.
And stay in bed through 7 o'clock. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. But that is one thing I like about working for myself is that like, I don't like, the corporate gym aspect where it's like sell. Like I'm not into that.
Well, all of this has been incredibly cool. What's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's interested in following in your footsteps into your field?
I would say take your time and like do the groundwork, do the education properly. Do the footwork and like have fun with it, you know? It's a tough career to break into, a tough field to break into. It's competitive, but like have fun with it, you know? Yeah. So
that's really good advice. Because if you're not having fun with it, is it worth it?
Exactly.
All right. So I think we have just a few more minutes for a few questions that were sent in by our audience. Shout out to all of you.
Thanks for sending those in. And we've got them here prepped in our audience asks box. Grab it. Woo.
Love it.
Let's see what the first question is. Tristan, thanks for sending this in, Tristan. Tristan asks, what part of your job is the most surprising to you?
Oh, some of the hilarious questions people ask, or like the funny things that like, just the funny moments, I guess. And I didn't anticipate it, I suppose, when I started in the career, but you become really close friends with everyone. Yeah. So maybe that is surprising. Yeah.
So Bert asks, can you explain a few terms from breakdancing?
Oh, yes. So let's see, what terms shall we go through? Well, we already kind of broke down the fact that there's different aspects. So top rock is all your standing up stuff, footwork, power moves, all the spinning moves. A term you could use is a blow up. So a blow up kind of like falls in its own category. It's not necessarily a power move, but it's kind of like a big trick you might do. So like if you watch someone's round, maybe they come in, they do some top rock, bit of footwork, power maybe, freeze, but then to kind of like the exclamation point at the end of their round, they might have a blow up, like some big trick that they toss out.
It'll blow your mind.
It'll blow your mind, yes. So blow up or commandos, like we talked about, is kind of like a routine where you steal a round. So those are kind of two terms that just, or a biter. A biter in hip hop is someone who like copies someone else's stuff. Ooh. So like if I see something at a jam and I'm like, oh, I like that, and I go home and learn like someone else's moves, like that's no go. So that person would be called a biter.
Don't be a biter.
Don't be a biter.
What is a cipher?
A cipher is essentially a circle. It's usually, well, pretty much always a circle, where you would have everyone standing around the side and then you kind of share. So you kind of consider it like a conversation. So music's playing, there's a circle, and like you're going in one at a time, throwing rounds. You could throw a 2-second round, you could throw a 1-minute round, whatever, but like it's a conversation with everyone else who's there. Kind of like a sharing circle.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I like that. A dance dialogue.
Oh, that's so
It's a dance dialogue. Yes, precisely.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you. I feel like we now have some of the vocabulary to become B-girls.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you so much for everything, Nick. Thank you so much for joining us on the STEAM League. And for everyone, you can check out more of the STEAM League superheroes on our YouTube channel and at steamsisters.ca.
Woo! Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.